Hey, I wanted to talk to you a minute today about the gig economy. What is the gig economy? It's basically the side hustle, side income economy that's become so popular today and age. I hope you're still listening to this ad because it's really important for me. I was in the network marketing industry for over 13 years and I had an incredible experience. I learned a ton of things, but there were many things about the industry of network marketing that I really didn't love. One of which was the overinflated products. Number two was the fact that I had to build a team or balance those things that we would call legs, the whole pyramid thing. I really was done with that. About a year ago, I was introduced to a social retail company. Social retail simply means that we are using our social media platforms, which are free, by the way, to promote products and services that we love. The affiliate marketing is booming. Not even going to lie. It's an incredible place to be in. And I am speaking to the woman who's in her 30s or maybe in her 40s, and she'd like to create that extra income. She'd like to create income on her own time. And she'd like to do it in a company that isn't all about the hype, that has some real products that she can get behind and would work with somebody who wants to teach her how to do that. If that's you, then I would really love it if you would reach out to me. Feel free to comment below or leave me an email. Scan the code. I'm sure there's a code somewhere if you're watching on my YouTube channel, but I would love to get in touch with you. And this is why. The company that I'm with, modere.com or modere.ca, depending on where you're at, check out shiftingretail.com. So that's shiftingretail.com. I want you specifically to go check out the values of this company and what their mission is. That was really important for me. I got flown down to the corporate offices and I had a chance to meet with the corporate crew and meet with the visionaries that are really driving the company forward. And what I discovered is this. The first thing they said to me was, Candace, when people come here from a network marketing company, they start making money. Now, disclaimer, this is work. This is going to take work. This is going to take energy, effort, time, and skill. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. Those don't exist, at least not ones that I would like to put my name behind. However, this company pays us 10 to 36% on commissions of whatever we've moved within our business. And we get paid daily. We get paid up to twice daily. Biggest, coolest thing about this, if I move product, I get paid on the product, period. No balancing legs, no having to do any of that stuff. If product moves because of a referral that I did, whether it was through my social media, through a swipe up influencer, or a person-to-person conversation, doesn't matter. I'm going to get paid on it. And for me, being paid on the work and the effort that I do is important. So if this is something that's intriguing to you, I invite you to head over to shiftingretail.com or head over to Smiley, that's CSMILEY.shiftingretail.com, and you'll be able to join my team directly. If you've got some more questions, please comment below or find a way to contact me and get in touch, because I would love to share with you how we're building this and how affiliate marketing is the place for you to be. And trust me, once I show you how to do it with this company, I will show you the many companies, brick and mortar stores, you name it, sole proprietors, entrepreneurs who have an affiliate-based idea. And once you can do it with one company, you can do it with any of them. So I'm excited to teach you that. In fact, so excited, we're going to give you 120 days of done-for-you post or text that will help you so that you don't have to worry about what to post or when to post or how to post it. We're going to give all of that to you. You just got to show up with drive, determination, and some cash flow to get you started. $39.99 gets you your affiliate link and code and gets ready to start. Maybe you want to try some product too. It's awesome. But up to 2 customer orders actually qualifies you for commission. So you don't even have to place an order, provided you've got customer orders that are moving in your business. Brand new customer orders qualify you for commissions every month. Super cool. Definitely an opportunity for somebody who wants to come in, put some effort in and work with integrity, work with honesty, but really begin to use the social media time that right now is really just wasted time and turn that into cash flow. Awesome. Hope you have a wonderful day and keep enjoying our show. All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Create the Ripple podcast. Here we trust the niggle and we tell the truth. Now, my guest today I'm actually pretty stoked. We got started and we discovered immediately that we have a mutual love for coffee and sales, which means we're going to have a lot to talk about
Yep.
today. Without any further ado, I want to like jump right into this. Usually I do a little preamble when I get started, but I feel like you and I have a lot to talk about. So without any further ado, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, let people know who you are, how you got here, and whatever else feels pertinent from your bio. And then I got some questions written down. So we're gonna jump right into this one today.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it. So first things first, thank you for having me. Appreciate your time as well. To make it very simple on my background and my bio, my name is Pouya, since I get that question asked
All the
fairly
time.
often. Just so people know, that's how it's pronounced. It's Pouya. And I got into sales and into business at a very young age. Had the luxury and privilege of being mentored by some great people that we just spoke about prior to this, including the likes of Jim Rohn, and just learned a lot of the fundamental lessons, not just on business, but really on life and on philosophy. And I took that path of self-education very seriously and to heart at a young age, and got into, investing in myself with books, with courses, with mentors, traveling, across different countries, going to seminars, conferences, and just really working on making myself more valuable in the marketplace, as Jim Rohn would say. And from there, got into the corporate world, worked my way up in sales, got into management, executive positions, became a shareholder in multiple different companies, and started doing outsourced sales. We were partnered with well-known entrepreneurs, names pretty much everybody would recognize, large companies, multi-billion-dollar companies. And my role was really to go in-house, to hire, train, manage sales teams, make sure everybody's in place, the leadership is in place, we're crushing revenue targets, and then I would move on to the next project. And from there, the natural progression was to open up in my own ventures and really open this up to everybody and start working with sales professionals and entrepreneurs from all over the world. And that's what I do today.
Love it. What
Hopefully
I
that
love
sums it
about
up.
this is just, the journey. And we were talking
Mhm.
about that, right? That, I would call Jim Rohn one of my mentors. I, grew like that was like I cut my teeth on his stuff. The other one that I absolutely love was like Bob Proctor.
Mhm.
He's awesome. And then oh, the name is escaping me, but he's got sales
Napoleon
training out with
Hill,
the Yin Yang. Bob, no,
Brian Tracy.
thank you. Love his stuff.
Mhm.
And his stuff really took me from, shy introvert, which is definitely who I am, right? I love the one-on-one, which I think makes me really good at sales because I read people really well, which is just coming from that introvert space of trying to blend in, fit in, and all that kind of stuff, to learning the skill sets to be able to move the conversation where I want it to go. And I was actually part of I guess you call it mastermind. Everybody's got a mastermind these days, but was sitting in on one of those days and they were talking about, the power of connection and relationship and referral. And it was just really neat to be back in that old school energy. And his energy, of course, was, if you built a business in, 1960, 1975, could it be successful? And I was like, yeah, because I read all of these ones. And then I moved into the online space. And so even online, I'm also a farm kid. I grew up in small town Alberta. So I don't know how to
Awesome.
escape sort of that building relationship handshake by business mentality.
Mhm.
And I get that sense from some of us old school people. And then now we're reading great things and we're saying, oh, you totally picked that up from, the same guy I picked it up from,
Yeah,
and how much of an
absolutely.
impact that has on our lives, right? So you talk about a lot about the moving and the shaking and really where you're at and where you're going. So let's talk about some of the projects I guess you've got on the go that you're most excited for. And a lot of the people who listen into my podcast are entrepreneurs. And so, they're generally hungry for how to increase sales and make that happen. So I'll hand the call over to you and let you sort of take it where you want to go.
Yeah. So, I mean, that depends where you want me to go with this. If you want me to leave some advice and whatnot for your audience, or talk about kind of what I have on the go. But really, what I'm doing nowadays is if I'm working with sales professionals from beginners to seasoned veterans in sales, and been in multiple different industries and whatnot, to entrepreneurs, whether they're a startup, one person show, or large corporations where I'm actually going in and consulting and training their sales
Mhm.
teams and things like that. I pretty much have that kind of versatility where I'm working with people in different capacities. So it really depends. What I have on the go is pretty much that. anything to do with business and entrepreneurship. And of course, as you know, trying to give value to people and creating the content and the YouTube channel and all that as well. But that's more of just a long-term play and just trying to actually give people some free value that's coming from real tangible experience. I think you'll resonate with me here that so much of what I hear nowadays, like you just mentioned, is either a regurgitation of, the guys we know or the people that came before us, which makes sense. We
Mhm.
stand on the shoulders of giants. That makes sense.
Do.
Or it's just coming from theory or books, which is the aspect that I don't like. So I see a lot of guys training sales or training business or entrepreneurship or being the guru or whatever it might be, right? And I can tell
Mhm.
just from what they're saying, this is not applicable in a
No.
real sales scenario, in a real, business. It's not scalable. I just things that I've learned from being in different industries myself directly, and that
Mhm.
just makes me realize a lot of people are talking from books. And it's good to have the books and the knowledge and the theory. But the one thing that I pride myself on is when I'm talking, it's coming from real experience, coming from sitting in front of thousands of people, like you said, prospects, customers. It's coming from really training, hiring, managing hundreds of people. And, long story short, when it comes to the content, that's kind of what I have on the go and what I'm trying to do, which is just really give value to people as much as I can in between what I'm already doing as well. Right. So if
And
your
I love
audience is
that.
mainly salespeople and entrepreneurs, they'll definitely enjoy this. I'm sure
Yeah.
there'll be a couple
Well,
things they'll pick up.
and I want him to, right? So for my listeners, you got to go and check out his stuff. I mean, certainly you can already feel the energy. It's not just the coffee talking. This kind of stuff is what get us jazzed in the morning. But I love that you bring up this value piece. And this was something that was like over and over and over again on this call this morning I was listening to, is that people were saying, well, how do you move it to? And how do you find the right person? And how do you do whatever? And I was like, it's not about that. It's about adding value. How do you add value? Because if you add value, then people like you, then they want to get to know you. Then once they want to get to know you, then they want to trust you. And then when they want to trust you, you can totally sell to them. But they were talking about this attitude of, until you've earned that space, you do not get to sell to them. And that's been huge for me when someone will pick up the phone and try to sell me, which my dad laughs because he's like, when the salesman calls, he's like, you answer the phone. And
Right.
I think it's fun. I'm like, let's play.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But this attitude that people have, that they're just so interested and they see people as a dollar sign.
Mm-hmm.
And really good salespeople see the opportunity to provide value. And they know that when we provide that value and we clearly communicate what the value is, it's not about talking the feature. We do not want to sell products, regardless of whether it's a products or service we're talking about. It's about adding the benefit. What will it do for the other person? And when people really feel that, I think that's a huge difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, because you do a ton of sales, but let's talk about that for a minute, because I think that's such a missing piece, and it's on my forefront of my mind, right, from the conversation today. But let's talk about that adding value piece and how you see that having an impact on your success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sounds like you're very well versed in sales yourself. So that's amazing. And I can definitely tell we're going to bounce back and forth here.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that conversation from your call earlier and what you're talking about here, you're touching on the classic people do business with people they know, like, and trust, right? And which is very true. Now, I'll tell you the pros and cons of that from my perspective, right?
Mhm.
Again, going from books and theory to knowledge, people like yourself and myself who have actually been in business, been in sales, and we can go a little bit deeper on this. There's layers and
Yep.
layers to this, right? The pro is that's very true. You have to have those elements in place if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you're in sales. The con is that's very surface level. And what bothers me is a lot of people that are teaching sales or coaches or trainers, whatever it might be, repeat that a lot. I hear that all the time. And now everybody knows that. It's become commonplace, right?
Mhm.
But who actually knows what those different layers are? Who actually can
Thank
sit
you.
down and break down each of those layers and explain them and
Yeah.
give examples as to how to apply those. So
Mhm.
that said, though, I'll take it a different direction. My take on that is one thing that I always like to say, which is long-term relationships over short-term transactions. That's been a belief of mine for a very long time. I'll literally verbally say that to clients or to prospects or to businesses that I'm in front of, because I just want that point to get across so clearly. And I feel like, for myself, I got into sales and I was able to do sales in 7 different industries and be successful at all of those. And product knowledge or industry knowledge was irrelevant to me. I knew the fundamentals of sales, of human psychology, of buyer psychology, right? So that's why I was able to pivot so much. And that's a question I
Mhm.
get all the time. How do you work with people in different industries and whatnot? It's for that reason. I know the fundamentals behind communications, behind human psychology, buyer psychology. So what I say is, the reason I got to where I got to in sales and in business, and what I'm doing today is for that reason. I value long-term relationships. I like to build those relationships, and I'll forego a short-term transaction any day
Yep.
for a long-term play, for a bigger, purpose at the end. And I think, that's why I've had clients who, when I was in the fitness industry, bought the supplements and whatnot from me, or the memberships or whatever it might be. Then when I got into the auto industry, same client came and brought the family members and bought cars for me. And when I got into the telecom space, the B2B space, the sales training space,
Mhm.
a lot of those same clients still are learning from me, or clients of mine. People follow you, right?
Yes.
And it ties in with this fact of people buy you. Doesn't matter what the product or the surface is. If you can focus on people buying you first and foremost, you're always going to be successful. And if people don't do it for the product, they don't do it for your company, they don't do it for the price, whatever it might be, they'll do it for you. And if you can get to a point where you can almost guilt trip people into buying for you, that's when you become a professional.
But that's the relationship piece that makes the difference, right? And
Mhm.
I as you were talking about that, I thought about this because people often ask me, "What are you up to now?" And I realize that it comes from, I've dabbled here and I've dabbled here and I've dabbled there, and been able to, like they talk about, can you be dropped anywhere in the world and within 6 months be able to make an income? It's a
Yep.
people-based business. And I
Mhm.
often, people say, "Well, how did you get good at people?" And I'm like, I read dating books
Right.
because we're driven by some of those things, the same thing, right? You want people to want you. You want them to want to be
Absolutely.
around you, right? And so I laugh. I'm like, go read a good dating book and then apply that to business, apply that to being attractive, apply that to, attraction marketing is nothing more than that piece of it. And I love what you said, because I often tell people when they want to come and work with me, it's like, we need to build your brand. And I don't really care what your logo looks like. We'll worry about that later. There's great people that do that for a living. But can you build, yourname.com? Because it
Mhm.
doesn't matter then what the tab is that people are clicking on. That's what's so important. And it goes back to things like values, right? Have you done a values exercise? Do you know your selling style? Right. And I often talk about that. Like, are you the starter or are you the finisher? Where do you start? Now, tell me this, because this just popped into my brain. Can you remember the first time that you like nailed the sale? And it was like when all of the different pieces that you'd been studying came together? Because I certainly can, right? I felt like I'd been trying it and I got a few sales, but it hadn't really clicked. And that one time when I didn't have the mentor around and it was just me and I got it done and I took them through whatever the languaging was, there's a moment in my brain where I went, I got it. This is how you move someone through the sales transaction. And a large part of it really felt like, to me, I took their hand and went, hey, it's scary to make a decision. I know that. Let me walk you through what this decision could look like. And then they did it. So let's
Mhm.
let's talk about that for just a second and maybe how, where you got there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I can't say I remember the exact single transaction or the exact single customer where I was in front of and that click happened for me. But I do remember the year that happened for me. And that was the year I turned 21. So I was 21 years old,
Yep.
and I had just, accomplished some of my goals, moved into a luxury condo. I was living pretty much downtown in the middle of the city, some of the things that I wanted to do. And I used to write this down since I was 17 years old. I used to write down I'm living in a luxury condo by 25. That was the goal. Got there by 21, and I noticed that
Mhm.
same theme, same pattern with pretty much every single one of my goals. If you put in that energy and that focus, it
Mhm.
usually happens a lot sooner than you actually expect. So I remember the year, it was when I was turning 21, is when I hit my first six figures in sales, and it was just a big year all in all. And I got to a point where I became, like you said, the finisher. I became the closer. I became the one who, if a deal couldn't get done, the other sales guys would come back to the office. And this is a true story. And, there's people that can testify to this. The other sales guys would come into the office and say, hey, man, here's the information. They'll throw the sheet or the paper or whatever in front of me. And they would say, I gave it everything. It's pretty much, it's not happening. I gave up on it. I told them my manager's going to come out and see you. And I wasn't a manager or anything. I was actually newer than all of those guys. And,
Yeah.
if you want to go out there and give it a try, go out there. And I was always the last resort for the other sales guys, besides my own deals and my own clients. And I would go out there, and more often than not, I would actually close it. And
Yeah.
sometimes, if I couldn't close the deal, I would use it as a fun exercise for myself. And I think this is really where I tapped into that
Mhm.
elite level and got really good, because I knew this isn't even my deal. It's already lost, quote unquote, and management, and everybody's given up on it. I'm just a last resort. So I might as well have fun with it. And if I knew I can't close it, I'd start trying stuff. I try stuff I read in books. I try stuff just for fun. I throw out crazy stuff out there to see what lands and what doesn't. And that allowed me to realize, where the gauge is, how far I can really push it. And I think that was the year that really shaped a lot of my
Mhm.
my sales knowledge and acumen and confidence and conviction, right? I always say the person with the most conviction always wins. When it comes to
Always.
sales, when it comes to negotiations, the person with the most conviction always wins. And I think that was the year I got my conviction. And then from there, I got into the auto industry, which is even crazier. You're in
It
four
is.
hour
Yeah.
plus negotiations. So it really all built upon itself. So yeah, I don't have one moment for you, but I definitely have the year that it happened.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that you talked about having fun because I know that once the shift happened in my brain, I was so willing to look at, and it seems like not unlike you, not like willing to look at what was going on. And so I wasn't necessarily attached to the sale. That was great. But I was almost more attached to the process. Like, why did this guy say yes and this one said no? Right. I was
Mhm.
highly intrigued. Was it me? Was it them? And so just that dive in, but just that energy that comes off it when you start to have a lot of fun. And I mean, it was little things right down to, the smile, the energy, that kind of stuff, which I just find it's an entire process. And I don't know if people are busy. I don't feel like they're busy enough really digging into the processes of it, right? Like people say, well, give me a script. I'm like, well, I can give you words that work for me, but it's less than that. It's more about the energy. It's the way I show up. It's, do I have them engaged? Are they actually interested? Is it a yes or is it a no? And those are way more fun, right? I don't know if you've read the book by
Absolutely.
Chris Voss, um,
Mhm.
Never Split the Difference.
Yep.
Brilliant, right? And he's like,
Yeah.
no is better. And I was like, yeah, because when you get yeses, people give you yeses just to make you go away.
Mhm.
And so it's way more fun when we get the no. And I'm like, really? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. No, I
So,
definitely agree with that.
yeah, like just super fun stuff. Super fun stuff. So you're working a lot with an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
What do you do when you're helping them to shift? Like, are you looking at their business? Are you having them, get onto sales calls with you? How's that process kind of work? Because, we talk a lot about, like you say, the book knowledge. Everybody can read the book. We know people know, like, and trust. What are you doing that you feel is different in terms of helping people know how to build trust? How to become that person that people, know. How do you do that?
Yeah, so great question. When I'm working with sales professionals, is when we cover a lot of that. What you just mentioned near the end of your question there. When I'm working with entrepreneurs, as you asked earlier, we have to go a few steps before that. So I have to take a look at their systems. I have to essentially do an audit of their business,
Mhm.
look at their current processes, systems, scripts, everything that happens within that business, what they're doing, what their goals and targets are, what their main challenges are, and then really look at how I can actually bring them value and change things for them and move the needle. That's what I look at. So there is no one shoe fits all. There is no one advice for everybody. Anybody who tells you that is trying to sell you something and they're full of it. Right.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah. So, I hate when I hear that because it's just not real. And I feel like a lot of younger people, again, because I've been in those shoes. And then when I was in management positions, a majority of my sales teams were anywhere from 18, 20, 24, 26, younger
Mhm.
men and women. And I just realized like how impressionable they are, as I was. But thankfully, I was a lot more conscious. I was always very focused on playing my own game.
Mhm.
I took everything with a grain of salt, and I just have this very stubborn personality, which played in my favor. Right? I don't listen to just anybody. It could be God coming down from the sky and telling me something. I'm gonna have to think about it myself and cross-reference it and double check it and whatnot. And if it's my own decision, then I'll do it. Right?
That bleeds itself into other areas of my life. I'm in a great
Yeah.
relationship right now, but, like, there'll be data or research that comes out right now. We're not going to get into that today, but
Right.
stuff comes my way and I'm like, I need to think about that. And it's like, what? And I'm like, look, it's just years and years and years of hearing a lot of great information and having to really figure out what was actually going to work for me.
Right. Exactly. So, on that same note, thankfully, I was lucky enough to think like that, and somebody like yourself as well. But unfortunately, most people aren't, and especially most young people aren't. They're
Mhm.
just too naive to the whole thing. So then you have these figures who get on social media or are
Mhm.
part of certain companies, and they'll be preaching certain things, and it's a very like one shoe fits all. This is how to live. This is how to work. This is how it should be, and it's just unfortunate to see. So my point is, first things first, when I'm working with sales professionals and entrepreneurs, there is no one shoe fits all. Everybody has their own challenges, their own struggles and things like that. And it's kind of the 80-20 principle, right? You want to look at the 20% that's going to make the difference of the 80%
Mhm.
in their results. So that's really what I look at. I hope that answers your question, but
It does.
that's
It
really
does.
what
And
it
I
is.
really just kind of want to drive it home because I know that this is going to attract, the person who feels like they're maybe kind of sort of stuck or they're haven't quite hit that next level. How do you go from, because I mean, you and I both know that it's never about the price. Price is always a question of value,
Mhm.
which I just love. People are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, it's just not. If people will pay for the thing that they realize that is going to benefit in their life. And the problem is that we always sell, the feature, right? And we're usually selling from a space with us. Like, I mean, when I'm working with salespeople, they say, well, I have to believe in it first. And I was like, I could sell you something that I don't believe in if I can believe in something about it, whether it's, the company or the mindset or whatever, because obviously integrity matters. People can feel
Mhm.
that. But do I have to be using a single particular product, right? Driving a particular car in order to be able to sell you on the value for your life? No, because I can ask you enough questions. And I want to bring this up because tell me this. I feel like not enough salespeople are asking enough questions.
Mhm.
Because questions are like magic. People love to tell you everything.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, what I'm a big proponent of is what I like to call conversational selling.
Mm,
And you're really just having a conversation.
yep.
Now, don't get me wrong. It's not as simple as just having a conversation and anybody can just have a conversation. There are many layers to it. And, you have to know the sales process. You have to know what you're doing. And there's a lot of things that go into that conversation. But that being said, if the entire thing can be just a real, genuine conversation and focusing on their main problems and how you can help them with your product or service, then you can really lead somebody to the close and getting the deal done and having that win-win scenario. And it usually happens where when you master this type of selling, at the end of it, you'll have people tell you, wow, I never expected to buy anything, or I don't even know how we got here, but sure, let's do it. Might as well, or you're good. You'll hear things like that. And, when that becomes a common theme, that's when
Yeah.
you're doing it right. So
Yeah.
no,
I
absolutely.
like it when they thank you for it. They're like, "Thank you." And I'm like, "You're welcome."
Yeah. Yeah.
That always makes me feel really good. Like I did some stuff with Floyd Wickman, another, old school guy, and he was
Mhm.
the gentleman closer, right? So he's like, it's 2 steps forward and 3 steps back. And I was like, "Oh, I can really relate to that because I think that's human." And he talked about a closing track, which I loved. So it wasn't like a script. It wasn't, because I like to be able to move, like you say, the conversation. I want to follow where it's going.
Yeah.
But I had sort of a general idea. I found too, and maybe this is, truthful for you, is that, I had done before I got into sales and marketing, I got into nursing because I wanted to help people. That was a huge part of it, which, has definitely transferred into what I do in terms of sales now. But there was a professional relationship. So there's a beginning, there's a middle, and an end. And it's not the patient's job to define that, it's the nurse's job. Hi, I'm so and so. We're going to be dealing with very personal things today. We're going to talk about personal information today. We're going to do X, Y, and Z. And then at the end of this is what's going to happen. And I'll transfer you into the next level. And that particular mindset, I think, had a huge impact on how I approached conversations. I didn't wait for my prospect to lead. I knew I had to have questions in mind. I had to show up. We're going to get started. Here's the potential, what we could do today. So even in the conversation, as you're saying, there's a process to it. Do we
Mhm.
go A, B, C, F, and then E? Sometimes,
Right.
but at least there's this beginning, middle, and then thank you so much. It was great to do business with you, right? Like just that impact on that.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right there. There's definitely a step to it. And going back to this topic of scripts, the
Mhm.
thing with scripts are, that they don't work because they're not preparing you for every single scenario. They're not preparing you for the objections that could come up. They're not preparing you for where the conversation could lead. They're not preparing you for the worst case scenarios. If you're scripting, unless you have 10 different scripts ready at once and you want to go down every path, which there's no need to because that naturally will happen anyways when you're selling a product or service for a prolonged period of time.
Mhm.
As opposed to scripts, what I believe in and what I like to give a lot of people that I work with are structures. It's
Yeah.
almost like scaffolding on a building. You have a structure and you know the general structure that you want to follow. There are touch points you have to go through, but
Mhm.
generally speaking, like I said, it's conversational selling, and with the right intentions in mind, is a lot more authentic, genuine, and again, long-term relationships over short-term transactions. And doing that long enough over a period of time, there's no way you're not going to be successful at it.
And I love that because, it's not unlike his track, right? It's just this is where you're going to go, but I don't want to give you the words. And I think too, when people are given the words, then they say, well, they didn't work. And I'm like, well, they wouldn't because they were born from my personal experience. They were born from me thinking these sorts of words worked right now. And words can shift and change, right? So a word that I would use this, talking to you as a guy, not the same word I would use if I was speaking to a woman, right?
Absolutely. Agreed.
And it's just huge. I think too, it's kind of like it puts salespeople on autopilot and they become just starting to read it rather than sales are vibrant. I don't know if people are picking up on the energy between you and I, but
Mhm.
when you show up to a sale, like you're showing up to be real, to be human, to see, like you say, can I actually offer you value? Because if I can't, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And I would like to move to the next person so I can offer them value. But I need to figure out if what I have is a fit for you or how I can make sure that it is a fit for you, which I
Yeah.
think is so crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. A sale at the end of the day is a transfer of energy, and
Mhm.
it's very important how you do that, how you actually communicate with people. It needs to come from a real, authentic place. And I can think of names off the top of my head, which of course I won't mention, but
Mm.
I know a lot of sales professionals that
Yeah.
I've trained, worked with over the years that knew all the scripts word for word, memorized freaking books word for word, and just had everything in their head, but never got the results, could never close deals, could never
Yeah.
perform, extremely inconsistent with their performance. And I would always tell them, listen, it's not about memorizing the script. It's not about word for word saying what I say. That's not going to work for you. Let's focus on teaching you the fundamentals of sales, the fundamentals of communications. And yes, follow the same structure that I follow, but
Mm.
that's not how it works. You're talking to a human being. You're not talking to the wall. You're not just going to regurgitate something, say the words, and then it just ends and then they sign the paper. That's not how it works. And
Yeah.
anybody who's teaching you that, again, is either full of it and just has, ill intent, or
Mhm.
they've just been out of touch for so long. They've been, out of sales and out of the real actual business dynamic for so long. And they've just been teaching it for years and years, maybe decades, and they're not used to, the world changing and shifting and pivoting. And, they're telling you these words to memorize and repeat. And, it just unfortunately doesn't work, but that's the reality of it. I'm glad we both know that and we can agree on that.
I feel like we could definitely have a cup of coffee and not run out of things to talk about. One of my favorite books that really made an impact for me was The Go-Givers by Bob Berg, who's
Mhm.
just an incredible, incredible guy. And I mean, it's an easy read. You can do it in an evening, but it really talks about that relationship, right? That each person this guy meets it's about the relationship, not about what they do, not about what they sell, not about, and usually it came from a great idea, right? How many it is easier to sell something you believe in because you have that passion. It becomes fairly natural. But you think as if you want to be good at sales, you got to get passionate about the other person, passionate about listening to what they need and then redirect. I mean, some of the most powerful long-term relationships have come when people have come to me and I said, actually, I'm not the right fit for you, but so and so totally is. And that doesn't just build, trust to the referral. It builds from that customer who goes, wow, you would actually pass away the cash flow. Yeah, it's not about this one. It's about the fact that next time you need something, I'm going to be your first call and I need
Mhm.
to be your first call,
Yeah.
right? Like huge impact.
No,
Amazing.
absolutely. Yeah. I definitely agree with
I
that.
want to open it up because I think you've got like so much that you could share. And so I just want to open it up that if there's something you want to share, want to talk about right now, something you've been reading on your mind, I know that my listeners are like waiting to hear from you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, we can really discuss anything. We can talk about anything, whatever direction you want to take with this. I'm more than happy to. Back to what I'm reading right now. I was sharing with you earlier before we started recording, so I'll just share with everybody. Might give people some value as well.
Mhm.
I was just telling you to fill the audience in that one of my other passions is investing. I love investing. The investing world is a world that I've become more and more passionate about over the last 3 years or so, roughly, and have been, again, active in actually experiencing stuff again, not just from books and theory, but that's just one of my philosophies in life that I want to really get involved, be practical with things, get tangible knowledge
Mhm.
myself. So, I've been investing, I've been building my portfolios. I'm part of some high level networks of investors and learning from them. And again, mentorship, learn that from Jim Rohn early on. I always look for mentors that are 10 steps ahead of me in any
Yep.
area of life. So, working on in that space as well. So to tie this back into the book I'm reading right now, I'm reading a book called Richer, Wiser, Happier. The name of the gentleman is escaping my mind right now. I don't have the book in front of
We'll
me.
find it.
Yeah. And that book is essentially an accumulation of some of the greatest investors of our time, really, and putting their philosophies on life, on business, and on investing all into one. So there, each chapter is about one investor. I believe it starts off with Monish Pabrai, who's an investor born in India, very successful guy, worth I think 500 million or close to a billion now.
Nice.
And he has a Dakshana Foundation. He's very into charity and
Mm,
whatnot. And then it talks about Nick Sleep, who's another great investor who actually closed down his fund. And funny enough, talking about relationships and authenticity here, he told all his customers, his private clients, I think it was a private fund, if I recall correctly, that if you guys want to be in my fund or continue doing what I've been doing and you're upset that I'm closing the fund, here are the 3 to 5 companies that we would be invested in for the next 20 years. You can go ahead and invest in those on your own. This is literally what we would be doing. Go ahead. These are the companies. We've done the due diligence and the research. You can go ahead and do that. And then they just moved on and now they're using their time for other things.
wow.
And they talk about a lot of their values in investing, which just to maybe provide some value here to the audience, I'll give you one of those values
Mm,
specifically from this gentleman, Nick Sleep, which is a lot of investors, especially nowadays with day traders, with social media, with this gambling mindset, with the crypto space, with
mhm,
everything else that's
mhm,
coming,
mhm.
which is fine. A lot of new investors are being flooded into the space.
Yeah.
It's always a great thing. It's just that most of them are not well informed.
Yeah.
What's happening is they have a very short term perspective. It's very short sighted. And one of the things this gentleman says is if you look at the investing world, the people who benefit the most and who compound their wealth and who really win big long term are the ones who are in these businesses, in these investments for decades, or maybe for life. And he argues that you should see your investments as the entrepreneur sees it, as the actual founder and business owner sees it. They don't plan on leaving. They might exit, but that's their baby. They're, with this
Mhm,
company for life. And he gives the Walmart family as an example and how
mhm,
that family didn't have a choice to sell the shares or whatnot. They've been an owner, in the shares of Walmart since the inception of the company, and to this day they are by far the biggest profiteers of the company and of the stock. And it just gives that example. But anyways, that's a great book. Talks about a lot of different investors, a lot of their different principles, and as the book title says, richer, wiser, happier. That's the whole point of this whole thing, is to get this all in check. And as I would say, my motto and what I like to say a lot and how I like to live is I want to live a truly fulfilled life on my own terms. And to me, the richer, wiser, happier is that for me. And the money, the hard work, the sacrifice, everything is for that. It's
mhm,
so I can live a truly fulfilled life on my own terms, which means 2 things: enjoying meaningful experiences and meaningful relationships,
mhm,
taking care of the loved ones, family, whoever's close to me, and meaningful relationships, and then just
mhm.
having meaningful experiences, traveling, making the most of life.
Right? I was asked, like, if, you didn't have to work and you didn't have to do any of these things, what would you do differently? And I was like, well, I would keep on doing what I'm doing because I actually really like how my life is. I would like more of my life, more time to do those things,
Yep.
more opportunities. I'm adding to the family. So we have a baby incoming in October. So I would like to have,
Awesome.
more
Congratulations.
experiences for them. Thank you. Very excited about it.
Hmm.
But not only that, then I'm like, I would also like to be able to have more time to, give back and get into the community. And I think that that's a big driving force. And I'm hoping the listeners are picking up on that especially once people get successful and you get there. Most of us have this, I would like to be successful. And when I am, I'm going to go and do this. And so it's almost like, they tell you go do the why 5 times. But really, when you're hanging out with successful people, the why is so deep that we don't even think about it because it's just always there. And it's so much bigger than even the big, very audacious thing we're attempting to create, right? It's sort of that will fund this. So I am curious, do you have something like that that's sort of driving you in behind that when you really feel like you get there, you're going to go and do something like that? You don't talk about if you don't want to, but I'm just curious about that.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding the question correctly, are you talking about my why or my drive? What really drives me and motivates me? Yeah. So I think it's a couple of things, and I think it's funny enough that I've come to it more and more
Mm,
as I've done interviews like this or podcasts or spoken to people, and as I've been asked this question, I've realized I go back to the same answer a lot. So I'll
yeah.
just start there, and then everything else, of course, is on top of that, and that
Mhm,
is the whole immigrant mentality, the whole thing of being an immigrant, right? So, and I'll talk about the difference because I've, especially nowadays, especially, and again, we won't go there, but in today's climate, in today's society, I'm seeing that more than ever. People lacking perspective and lacking gratitude. Those are 2 things I can never lack. because I
Mhm.
was born and raised in the Middle East.
Mhm.
I lived there until I was 10 years old. I
Mhm.
moved to the west side of the world when I was 10 years old. And that complete change of perspective,
Yeah.
change of language. English is my third language. Funny enough that it became my go-to. It's my tool. It's communication and sales became really my entire thing.
Mhm.
But I speak two other languages fluently prior to English, right? So coming here, having to learn English at 10 years old from zero,
Mhm.
having to get accustomed to completely new societal norms. School was different. Just the way everything was done was very different. And then just realizing, if I was still there and living that other life that potentially could have happened, I mean, it was just a series of events that led to me being here, right? Those events could have very well been different, and I wouldn't have had any of the opportunities I have today.
Mhm.
Would probably not be the same person I am today. Who knows how those circumstances would have shaped me,
Sure.
what my mindset would have been. A lot of the people that I've been exposed to who have formed the way that I think and that I operate in my life. So moving here, being an immigrant, going through all that itself, I think is a huge drive. Because first things first, when I think about it, and I felt like this since I was 13, 14, 16 years old. And that's why at 16, I was going to business conferences. I met Jim Rohn and whatnot. So um, I felt like I can't not succeed. I can't not pursue my goals. I can't not outwork everybody. I have to, because I've been given this opportunity. Whereas a lot of my friends, associates, and people that I know to this day who were born and raised in the US and Canada and the UK, whatever, all these great countries,
Mhm.
right? They don't have that same drive. They don't have that same feel. It's almost like they're oblivious to the opportunities they have, to where they are in the world, to just the lottery ticket they've been handed by just being born here. So the fact that I recognize that, I think just starts a fire inside me that I, to be completely frank with you, I don't think can be manufactured. I'd
Yeah.
hate to say it, but I feel like it's a natural advantage
Yeah.
myself and all other immigrants have. I just, it's real.
I agree with you
This
100%.
this right behind me says, this poster here, this picture says pressure is a privilege in the red. The black says pressure and the red says pressure is a privilege. And I tell a lot of my clients and a lot of friends and anybody who I speak to, I try to give them this piece of advice, which is, if you don't have pressure in your life, if you don't have that thing that drives you, like it drives myself, you want to create it. You want to manufacture it. You literally have to create pressure in your life. It's a privilege. So I would say, there's obviously other things. There's family, there's my goals, there's ambitions, there's the inspiration aspect of it. But I think
Mhm.
desperation is actually a bigger driving force than inspiration. And I think
You're
that
talking
drive.
to a single mom. So, I was thinking about that recently
Yeah.
because I'm coming up on another push, and, new baby showing up. And so there's some new challenges and this kind of stuff. And I'm literally said to myself, it's okay. You've got this because you're used to working under pressure. And in fact, Candice, you tend to do better. And so as you bring that up, I'm like, no wonder, right? Like
Mhm.
there's that, you got it. It's like the buck stops right here. So what else are we going to do? Yeah.
Right. No, exactly. And there's nobody who can relate to me more than a mom, and especially a single mom. I mean, you can definitely resonate with that message. But I
Mhm.
think that's it. If I had to pinpoint my
Yeah.
drive, my biggest motivator, my why, quote unquote, that would probably be number one. Of course, there's many more things. I can go
Mhm.
back in my life and play the victim card, and all the things that have happened. Sure, those are all there. I'm sure those have contributed to who I am and how I
Mhm.
think, and the drive and the need to pursue my goals. But very broadly, kind of painting the picture, it's that whole immigrant thing, and it's realizing it's the perspective I have now. It's the gratitude I have now, which is why, this whole messaging, I'll just briefly touch on this, and we definitely
Yeah.
don't want to go deep
Please.
into it, but just very briefly, because especially in the entrepreneurship space, I hear this message a lot of, like, fight for our freedom, stand up for what's happening, these lockdowns and whatnot, or authoritarian, whatever it might be, right? True or not, doesn't matter, completely irrelevant. I'm not even addressing that. The one thing that I'll tell you is, somebody like me looks at all those messages, looks at what's happening, and I'm still more than grateful to be in Canada, in the US, in any of these countries, as opposed to being in the Middle East or being in some other part of the world where I have experience, I've lived.
Mhm.
And the perspective I have and the gratitude I have cannot be taken away. So
Mhm.
you'll never catch somebody like me saying something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself says volumes.
I really appreciate this. See, sometimes, I podcasts are more about trusting the niggle, right? Leaning into the heart space. And sometimes they're about telling the truth. And I'm never really sure which one of those I really enjoy more. But I got to be honest that this whole truth telling piece of it, where we say, look, this is what I think, and this is the actual reality. I love that, and I love that you're driving that point home, because it is a privilege, and that's worth working for, like totally. So very cool,
Absolutely.
very cool. Anything else you want to add? I'm highly curious. Let me ask this first. What is your
Sure.
favorite book? Like,
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. The answer would be I don't have one because there's too many. I mean, just behind me, I have so many books. I mean,
I saw.
yeah, like, and I have another library there on Audible. I have at least 100 books. I mean,
I know.
so it's hard to choose one. How can you even choose a favorite book,
I
right?
don't
I'll
know.
just give you some of the ones on my top shelf
Yeah,
because they're on the
do
top
because
shelf
I
for a
think people
reason.
are gonna be like, I want to be like this guy. And I think, I want to just bring it up before I forget. Mom brain is a thing. But
Mhm.
this whole attitude of finding a mentor, whether it's in a book or whether it's in a group or whether it's, I mean, YouTube is a brilliant people like, where do you go? I'm like, just start on YouTube and then you can find their free group and you can go all in their group and figure out if you like their style. But when you're in that, I'm looking for a mentor mode and I'm going to hang out with people that are doing what I want them to be doing, then you stay in this growth mindset, right? You're constantly thinking about, I mean, on that call today, they said, when was the last time you recorded yourself on a sales call and then reviewed it? And I was like, all the time. Like, I'm constantly getting off the phone going, how could I have made that better? How could that have been smoother? So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up for the people that are listening in. It's not hard to find a mentor. You don't have to go and pay big hundreds and thousands of dollars, especially in the coaching world right now where anybody can do it. And often they're leading from, I read one book and now I'm excited and I built a course about it.
Mhm.
But, you're going to share some books here, get in this mentorship mode and then go and find it. Okay. Share your books.
Yeah. So again, just to preface this, I gotta say there's a lot of books.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great ones. If anybody feels like they want to reach out to me after this, myself or my team will see the messages come in on the
Yeah.
different social platforms. I'd be more than happy to provide more or on any specific topic. But just a few, I'll go off my library right here. Just I'm looking through the camera and I see a couple right there that stand out. The ones I have facing out at the top
Mhm.
shelf is Charlie Munger's book, Poor Charlie's Almanac, based off of Benjamin Franklin's. I think it's called Poor Poor Franklin's Almanac, something along those lines. But
Coming
it's
up.
that book. Benjamin Franklin is Charlie Munger's biggest mentor, and that's why.
Mhm.
And Charlie Munger, if you're not familiar with him, he's I think 97 years old now, still vibrant, still kicking, still doing interviews, still very active in the investing world, worth a couple billion. So somebody
Yeah.
I'd probably listen to.
Yep.
Warren Buffett's business partner. People always argue he's the actual brains behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And chairman, and I think board member, shareholder, whatever it might be in Daily
Mhm.
Journal, follows a lot of their investing and their decisions there.
Mhm.
One of the major investors and board members in Costco. A lot of you guys might love shopping in Costco. So there you go, Charlie
There you
Munger.
go, Costco.
And, yeah. And of course, Berkshire Hathaway, which is,
Yeah.
the crown jewel, right? It's a fortress, financial fortress.
Mhm.
So, the thing I love about Charlie Munger, probably even more than Buffett in a way, and Buffett has his own,
Mhm.
advantages, and Warren Buffett's worth over 100 billion. Charlie Munger's worth a couple billion. So right there, you can see the philosophies are different. It's not that Buffett's that much better at investing or anything like that. Munger could have done the exact same. He talks about why he consciously didn't pursue that.
Mhm.
Charlie Munger is very much into taking from different disciplines and building mental models, is what he talks about. And for example, taking a mental model from war, from military, right?
Mhm.
One of them is seeing the front. As a leader, as a military leader, you want to see the front. You never want to take the messenger's word because they could have been scared. It could be influenced. They could have been paid off. It could have been treason, whatever it might be, right? So real leaders in the military in these different, situations would want to go and see the front themselves. They'd want to see the front of battle and make that decision. So it's called seeing the front. That principle you can take and apply to leadership in business. You
Mhm.
want to see the front yourself. So a lot of times when I was running sales teams, I'd want to go foots on the ground and see, in the sales floor, in the offices, what's going on. I would travel between different regional offices. I would see how they're running things. And a lot of things are very evident when you do that, right? So Charlie Munger is a big proponent. That was just an example to paint the picture there of mental models. And that book is packed. I mean, packed. It's a huge textbook. It's facing out right now, so you can't see it. So it might be intimidating, but it has big pictures. Every page has 2, 3 quotes on there. So it's like Charlie Munger's life story along with lessons and quotes and all kinds of cool stuff in there as well. So it's one I would definitely look at. Another one on my second shelf, I don't think you can see here right now, right there, is Principles by Ray Dalio. Principles, Life and Work by Ray Dalio, another great investor. That one is about life principles, work principles. I love it. The one right here for our Canadian fellows, Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules for Life. Jordan
Love
Peterson, a
him.
lot of other great books. Yeah. The new one that just
You got
came
his
out.
new
So
one? He did a new one.
I haven't ordered it yet.
You gotta order it, dude. It's
Yeah.
like in my audibles. I just got started and I've heard it's
Amazing.
amazing.
Love
So yeah.
it. I've heard is amazing too. He has his raving fans. I've heard about it for sure. Just haven't checked it out yet. So shout out to the Canadians. This one here. And, those are three that I would recommend. I don't want to give too many recommendations anyways, because most people get paralyzed with too much information. So
Yeah.
let's keep it simple and high level. One more I just want to give away, because I think, speaking of this earlier theme of a lot of people we see nowadays are just copying Jim Rohn and copying these other people, right?
Yep.
A lot of books, and I'm just not going to name them here, but a lot of books on finances, on money, and on the principles of money are a copy of this book. And the book is The Richest Man in Babylon.
Yeah.
And it's on the top shelf right there. And that book has a lot of core principles and rules and foundations of money and wealth and generating wealth and having your money work for you, and all the core principles. If you can just take that and translate it into your life, I mean, you can build wealth through that book alone. And it's a book that's very thin. It's in story mode. You can read it. I've read it at least 4 or 5 times. Matter of fact, I'll probably read it again after this, just because we brought it up.
You're like, oh yeah, that's a good book.
Yeah. So those are some I definitely recommend, some classics, some that I personally love that I've read more than 2 or 3 times for sure. Each one of those I've read more than twice. So, I like those.
You like those,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, for us as entrepreneurs, the time, right? For us to take time is just such a crucial piece, right? I know what my minute is worth, even more so now that I have kids, right? Because now it's not just minutes. It's like when someone says, hey, can we meet for a cup of coffee? I'm like, can we Zoom? Do you mind? Because, right, I saved myself an hour not having to drive to see you. And that's an hour I can spend with my family. Or, if I'm paying for the childcare, that's an hour I can get a lot done. You get so much done when, you have this compressed timeline. So anyway, I do want to wrap this up. We have given people a ton of value here today. Thank you for that. Adding value is crucial in my life. I know what my core values are, and definitely leaving people with an impression of increase. I said this to someone the other day, like, what does that mean? I said, increase. Like, just think about that for a minute. Words are so powerful. I've been addicted to knowing the etymology of words. There's words that are just not in my vocabulary, beyond the can't, won't, shouldn't, right? All that kind of stuff. Just because of where they come from. And but I do want to just open it up one more time for you. Is there anything you want to leave people with? Obviously, we'll make sure we have all of your links below. I'm going to encourage you guys, if you're listening in, get in touch with this incredible human being and get some value from what he's sharing today.
I appreciate it. Well, first things first, I hope we've brought, a ton of value to your audience. I hope they got some tangible takeaways there, at least 1 or 2 things they can implement, whether it's the books, whether it's some of the sales talk, whether it's the entrepreneurship stuff. If there's one thing I'll leave everybody with, and I was asked this question once before, and I feel like this just kind of sums everything up perfectly. When it comes to business, when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to sales, is that, and you kind of just touched on this as well, your business and your success and your results are a direct reflection of who you are. So, as Jim Rohn would say, to pay homage to our mentor both, and end the call off on this note, in respect to him, as he would say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And, for things to change, you have to change. For things to get better, you have to get better. So that's really the whole point. And like you said, as entrepreneurs, it's hard to take some time and carve that time out consciously to work on ourselves, to read, to invest in ourselves, to take time out, especially when you have kids and family and things like that. I could only imagine. That's not my scenario, but I could only imagine, right? So I would just say your success in sales and in business is directly correlated with your personal development. So as you grow, as you get better, you get paid for that value that you bring to the marketplace. So focus on you being better, focus on you getting better, forget the noise, forget the outside circumstances, forget the news, forget social media, forget all the gurus and everybody else. Focus on you, focus on getting better, focus on yourself inwards. And as you get better, you're guaranteed to get the results, and your business will be a direct reflection of you. So that's where we'll end it off on.
Mic drop. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're definitely going to have you on as an encore. My crew loves having the encore. They know I'm a relationship builder. So once we get started, we'll have to circle back around and have you back on again. But thank you so much for taking time out and just showing up the way you did today. And for my listeners, like, love, share, comment, follow. It really means the world. And with this one, we got to get this one out there. So again, thank you to you for coming on with me today. And to my listeners, thanks for listening. And we'll catch you all on the flip side.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Candace Smiley, and I'm so grateful that you're taking a look at Modere as a supplemental income option for you and your family. Modere, in my opinion, is an incredible opportunity for you to get in on the online gig economy and the affiliate marketing world that is just enjoying some serious buzz right now. Let me tell you what Modere is not. Modere is not your typical MLM. It is not a scam. It is not a pyramid. And it's not you having to bother your friends. Bonus, right? I'll tell you what it is though. It is an online social retail phenomenon. And what is social retail? Social retail is you using your social networks to drive retail sales. Bonus, the products, we've got over 100 products. Health and wellness, skincare, collagen sciences, products that people actually want and love to use in their day-to-day. Best part, the products are priced comparably. So they measure up with other products on the market. Now, no, you're not going to be peddling products to your friends. Forget what you think you know about the old MLM model way of doing things. This is very simple. Let me explain. For $39.99, you get access to the social retail or shiftingretail.com back office, which handles all of your accounting and all of your affiliate managing system. There's also tons of training there, as well as on 2 major Facebook groups, the Legacy Team and the Real Results 2.0. So products-based and team-based. Very, very cool. Now you actually can come in here and only spend $39.99 and make sure that you've got customer orders coming in. So you don't actually have to place an order to be qualified for commission, but orders do have to be moving through your affiliate referral system code. Let me explain. Our products have a point-based system, which makes sense considering that we're all over the world. So you're not limited in your network to one single space. You continue to do your social media the way you normally do. You post a referral link or, hey, I'm loving these products, or hey, just read about these new products, absolutely loving them. You post that referral link, people go to the referral link, and it looks a lot like Amazon or any other online store. There's no weird communications. It's just simply purchase the product. All of the products have all of the product profiles, so it's easy to see ingredient lists, calorie counts, different percentages. There's usually reviews of people, real people, using and loving the products. There's ingredients, and there's often the science that went into it and products that work really well with that one. So the upsell is actually done for you by the company. Any and all of your customers who get started earn you between 10 and 36% commissions. Now, if you choose not to purchase product because you can only afford the $39.99, or you really want to see if this is as true as I say it is, you'll need to have at least 2 orders go through your business to equal 150 points of customer volume, new customer volume every single month. But you never have to buy any of the products if you don't want to. Pretty cool, right? As soon as you hit that quota of 150 PV points, point volume points, you are qualified for commissions, and you'll be paid on the commissions of those 150 points. Bonus. Now, let's say you decide you want to buy something that costs, I don't know, $30, and you get a few points from that. That counts toward that volume. So you really have a lot of flexibility in how you want this to work for you. This app delivers to your phone every day, training and done for you posts for your social media, which means we are taking the guesswork out of you knowing how to build this affiliate gig. If you choose to join my team, I'm going to add you into a Facebook group where I coach the people that are working with me on how to maximize their affiliate and referral-based business. It is an exciting time to be online, and we are seeing people take their small-time social retail business into an incredible supplemental income for them. Caveat, it takes work, it takes time, and it takes energy, but you're already spending a lot of time on your social media platforms. You are already spending time doing the scroll, and we can show you how you can begin to allocate a small amount of time every single day to begin to create this referral-based, affiliate-based gig economy, which I'm really excited to show you. Anyway, I know you've got some questions. Some product videos will be sent to you. We can also send you some more videos in terms of the compensation plan in its fullness. Happy to show you how this whole thing works.